Good day, as you know, I'm Kaylin, and in today's training video, we're going to be discussing access control areas. Now, areas get used when you're setting up something like pathing or anti-passback. It'll basically indicate where the employee is currently clocked into, and you would have your various areas that you can set up. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So if we move on over to our user module, and you go to your Blue Man, and let's just choose an employee, and you click on change. You'll see that there's an access control tab on your left hand side, and then there is the access rights, which we configured in the previous video and assigned that, and then you've got then your current area where that employee is. So this is basically if you are to be using things like pathing or anti-passback or something like that, you would have to set the current area of that employee. Now what this basically does is if you've got one device that's, let's say this is a turnstile, and the one area is outside, and then the other area would perhaps be in the yard, which is a common area between the factory perhaps, then you would need to set that, let's say this employee is currently in the yard area, you can set it to that. Now what happens if you leave this and you set this to outside and the employee is actually in the yard area, and you do have pathing set up or anti-passback? What will happen is the system will say this guy is already in the yard. If he's coming in from outside, let's say through the turnstile, he's already in the yard, so this guy is not allowed to clock again, because after all, he's already clocked in, he's in the yard area. So for that reason, you'd need to set his current area to outside in order to allow him to come through the turnstile. The same with the pathing thing. So let's say you've got a factory device. You want the guys to, the path that they need to walk is clock in at the turnstile, clock in at the factory device, and then when they go home, they need to first clock at the factory device, to get out, and then only are they allowed to go through the turnstile. So now, again, if you've got this this scenario where the employee is currently working in the factory, so he's in, let's just say the factory's areas are yard being the common area, and the inside area would be the factory. So this employee is actually in the factory area, but you place his current area as outside, let's say. The system is going to say this guy is not allowed to clock at the factory clock because he's not in the correct area. He's in the outside area where he's supposed to be in the factory one. So that's when it becomes important for you to configure the correct areas. It's easy to actually going to assign those areas to the employees. Once they've been configured, you simply choose the lookup button and you go and select your various areas. Now if the area isn't here that you need to select, obviously when you initially set up the system, you would then configure all the various areas. You would assign them to the different devices in terms of the inside area and the outside area. And once that's done, it's a case of just assigning the correct current area. Now, sometimes what's easiest is, if the guy is working today, simply set him to the outside area and let him start clocking tomorrow in order for him to correct his, his direction and his path and all that. Okay, so to add in new areas, pretty plain and simple. You click on the configuration module icon on the right-hand side. I'm just going to move this over to my screen here. We can click on close. You can go to the setup menu, access control, and areas. And it's as easy as clicking the add button, putting in the description of your area. So we're going to call this yard, being our common one. And if you do have an image for that, you can go and select that. Otherwise, I'm simply just going to choose the inside one for now. Click on OK, save and close that. And then once you actually go into your user module, you will see that that new area has been added there, and you can select that. So that's your areas. Quite easy to configure them. Like I say, generally this is done at the beginning of the setup when you're configuring all those clocks, but perhaps you're getting an extra device and you need to configure another one. This is how you do it and how you can assign the current area to that employee. I hope that you've learned something and that you'll join me in the next video. Goodbye.